I remember the moment like a photograph that refuses to fade. Her brother's laugh still echoes in my ears. Not the kind of laugh that fills a room. The kind that cuts through it, sharp, clean, deliberate. He was standing at the head of the table, the way he always does, like he owns the air in the room. And I was sitting there, a man who thought he belonged. My wife's voice snapped the silence like a whip. "Apologize to my brother," she said, "or get out." The words didn't just hang there. They landed, they sank. Everyone watched. My father-in-law with that old satisfied smile. My mother-in-law, eyes fixed on her plate like she didn't want to see. My wife's sister trying not to look too pleased. And him, he smirked. He thought I would crumble. He thought I'd beg. He thought I'd beg for her to pull him back, to defend me, to stop the humiliation. He didn't know me. I stood up, slowly, deliberately, like a man walking into a trap he designed himself. My wife's eyes flashed, a warning, or a challenge. I couldn't tell which. I walked toward him. He didn't stand. He stayed seated. The smugness didn't leave his face. He waited for the begging. He waited for the apology. He waited for the moment he could say, "See, I told you." I stopped, just inches from him, and looked up. Not at him. Through him. That's when I saw it. The tiny, invisible things he'd been doing for months. The way he leaned in when she laughed. The way he spoke to her like she was the only one in the room. The way my wife didn't correct him. Not once. Not ever. I looked him in the eyes. And I didn't apologize. I didn't beg. I didn't even speak. I just let the silence do the work. That silence was louder than his laughter. And my wife, she watched me like she was watching a stranger. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Not really. I was waiting. I was always waiting. Because I'd started to suspect something long before the dinner. I just didn't want to know. The first time I noticed the change, I told myself it was paranoia. A man begins to doubt his own life and he starts inventing reasons. That's what I told myself. But then the phone started buzzing at odd hours. Not texts, not calls. Just the vibration of messages. Always deleted, always too quick. And the way she would glance at the screen. A micro-movement so small it could be dismissed. But I didn't dismiss it, because my instincts had already begun to sharpen. I began to watch. Not in a dramatic way. Not like a jealous husband. I watched like a scientist. I watched like a man studying a poison. She would leave the room, come back with her hair slightly different, her lipstick slightly smudged, her smile slightly too calm, and her brother, his presence was always there, like a shadow that never quite belonged. He called her sis in that tone. The tone men use when they want something and pretend it's affection. And the worst part? She didn't stop him. She let him, like she needed him to, like she wanted him to. That realization hit me like a cold wave. Not betrayal. Not yet. Something deeper. Something darker. I started looking for proof. Quiet proof. No confrontation. No scenes. Just evidence. I watched her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I saw her delete messages. I saw her close apps. I saw her breathe a little too hard when she thought I didn't notice. Then I did what I had promised myself I would never do. I hired a private investigator. Not because I wanted to catch her, but because I wanted the truth. I didn't need a scene. I needed clarity. And clarity was the only thing that could keep me from losing my mind. Weeks later, the investigator called. A voice on the other end of the line. Calm, professional. Like he was telling me the weather. "I have something," he said. And I knew. I knew the world had shifted. I sat at my desk. I stared at the wall. I didn't move. I waited. When he sent the files, my hands didn't shake. They didn't. Because the shaking had already happened. It happened the moment I realized the possibility was real. I opened the first file. Pictures. Her brother's car outside our house. At night. The same night she told me she was working late. I opened the next. Messages. Not between her and him. Between her and a name I didn't recognize. But the way she wrote to him, pet names, careful words, secret laughter. And then, a receipt. A hotel room. Not a random one. One she had used before. The kind of place that doesn't keep records. The kind of place where people go to disappear. The evidence wasn't just there. It was everywhere. And I felt something inside me snap. Not anger, not sadness. Something colder. The kind of clarity that only comes when you realize you've been living inside a lie. I called my wife. She answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" she asked. I didn't tell her, because I didn't need to. I already knew. I was already standing in the room with her brother, and he was still smirking, still thinking he'd won. I walked into the house that night like a man returning to a battlefield. My wife was in the kitchen. Her brother was in the living room. I didn't look at her. I didn't say a word. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I walked into the living room and sat across from him. He smiled. The kind of smile men give when they think they're safe, when they think they're untouchable. I reached into my coat. I pulled out the printed report. The messages, the receipts, the photos. I laid them on the coffee table. He stared at them. His smile faded. His eyes widened. He looked at me like he had never really seen me before. My wife walked in, her face drained of color. She tried to speak, but I didn't give her the chance. I looked at her brother. Calm, cold, controlled. "You wanted me to apologize," I said. My voice was quiet, but it carried. "You wanted me to beg." He swallowed. "I didn't," he lied. I nodded, like I believed him, like I was willing to accept his excuse. Then I said the words that changed everything. I already knew. He blinked. The smirk returned for a moment, then vanished. Because he realized something. He realized I hadn't come to beg. I had come to expose. And in that moment, I understood the cruelest truth. He wasn't the only one betraying me. She was. And she had used him like a weapon, like a shield, like a way to keep me trapped in the house, in the life, in the story she wrote for me. I stood. Slowly, like I was leaving. I looked at my wife one last time. Not with love, not with anger, with something else, with the kind of calm that makes people uncomfortable. "You can keep your brother," I said. "You can keep the house. You can keep the lie." Then I walked out, not running, not dramatic, just walking, like a man who had finally found the door. Behind me, I heard my wife's voice, a broken whisper. "Please." I didn't turn around, because I didn't want to see the moment she realized she had lost me, and when I reached the front gate, I felt it. The weight lifting, not joy, not relief, something colder, something like power, like the truth had finally set me free. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because I knew what I'd become, a man who could see through the masks, a man who could walk away from the story he was meant to live. A man who no longer belonged to anyone else's betrayal. The final line in my mind echoed like a verdict. I didn't lose. I simply stopped playing.